I'm going to go ahead and get started. But what I want you to do is go ahead and share with anybody you think. I've had a couple people tell me they were coming tonight, that they wanted to hear this. So, what we're going to be talking about is all of this training. Thank you. Hey, Kaylin. Hey, LaDonna. Hey, Merk. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and share with anybody who you feel is in this conversation. If you're an advocate and you're working with people, and this is going to be a good conversation. So these Tea and Pearls sister gatherings, virtual gatherings that we have every Wednesday night, has kind of changed the trajectory. And so basically what I'm doing is giving advice to advocates and giving like some advocate skill training. But I want to talk about things that are going on with the people we serve so that we can, have a conversation on what's the best way to approach those subjects. So what we're going to talk about tonight is one of the things that we're constantly hearing, which is, but he never hit me. And oftentimes people hear that and we want to let them know, yes, but that's a precursor. And you need to understand that although he may not have hit you now, oftentimes it gets to that point. So what I want to do is make sure that, you know, we have a conversation. This is to be a dialogue, not a monologue, not me just saying, hey, this is what I think. I want you to tell me. And as we go through this, I want you to give me some best practices. And the more that we can continue to do this, the more that we can serve the clients that we serve better so that we are constantly giving our best advice, our best people. And so that we are helping and giving our best advice to the clients that we serve so that we're being the best that we can be. So, as I've said before, for those of you who don't know, my name is Andra Merriman. I am a creative harmony coach, meaning what I like to do is help you create what feels good, what's harmony inside of you, doing the things that you need to do to make you have a healthy relationship. I'm also the creator of the Jennifer Y. Merriman Health Program. This is a program for women from their youth up to help them understand what is domestic violence and how it affects all of us. I'm also the CEO and founder of Feminine Life Rebuilders, which is a nonprofit 501c3. And with that is why I'm coming to you with this advocate training. That's what we do. We do trainings and workshops and speaking engagements and things like that so that you can be the best advocate so that we can help the most clients. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about tonight's topic. And as I said, continue to share it with people as you see fit. So when we talk about non-physical abuse, meaning so that person has not necessarily got into your face or hit you with something or that. And oftentimes as we're working with people, they say, well, it's not domestic violence because he didn't hit me. So what I want to give you is one, the understanding that domestic violence is not one thing. It's not one incident. It is a stream of incidents. It's a stream of patterns. It's patterns that you see that are leading up to something else. In most cases, it ends up physical. In a lot of cases, it gets to the very physical, the rape, the death, those things right after the verbal abuse, the mental abuse, the psychological abuse. So I'm going to kind of just tip the iceberg on some of these things just to kind of give you an idea of what this looks like. So I want you to think about this as we go through this. And again, put in the comments or where you're, any comments or questions you have concerning this. First of all, how many of you that are watching are advocates? If you're an advocate, just type 1 into the comment section. Just go ahead and just type 1 and let me know so I can understand, who I have listening with me today. If you're an advocate, go ahead and just type 1 into the comment section so that I know who is listening, so that, when we have, as we have this conversation, you can give some of your best practices. So go ahead and type a 1 into the comment section. If you're catching this on the replay, also, hashtag replay, and then let me know, type a 1 in if you are an advocate. I'd like to know how many people are listening that are working through this. And then also during the night, if I speak about something and it's a topic that's interest to you, go back, let me know, either instant message me or put in the comment section and what you are interested in talking about. So as I as I work through this, so there are 5 patterns that I'm going to go over tonight. And one of the things that you may notice, it may not have gotten physical, but you may notice that there's a constant need to know where you are and who you're with. Baby, where are you? Have you gotten to work yet? Have you left work yet? You still at the grocery store? Well, why did it take you so long to get to the grocery store? I've even heard incidents to where they've timed how long it takes you, and you may be 5 minutes late. What did you do? Where did you detour? So at the beginning, a lot of times in relationships, we think that's cute. He loves me. He's trying to keep up with me. He can't live without me. And it kind of touches that feel-good piece in us. And if that's the only thing you have, then maybe you're okay. It's still a cause to be aware and concerned. But that's one of the major things that often happens as a precursor to the physical piece. Constantly blaming you for everything little nets. Constantly blaming you for everything that goes wrong, regardless of what happens, regardless of how it happened. If something didn't go as planned, even if it's something that you had nothing to do with, you just happened to be around when it happened. So those type things, look at that. Are you constantly being blamed? Are you constantly saying, are you constantly saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I wish that hadn't gone that way for you. I thought you told me to do something different. Are you constantly having to do that? Isolation from family and friends. It may start out that you just want to be with him. You think it's so cute that he's constantly want to be with you. And, I know this goes the other way around, and I do want to take a moment and say that. But I want you to understand that when you're the only two in each other's lives and nobody else has anything to do with you, because you've decided that, hey, he's my boo, I want to be with him, that's a cause for concern. Because whoever you with need to understand that the people that you hang around with, your family members, all the people that you talk to, they're a part of who you are. It's kind of like, I remember as I was growing up, single women, and there wasn't as many, talking about it, but they're like, okay, if I'm going to remarry, if I'm going to be with someone and I have kids, if they can't accept my kids, they can't accept me. But we never stop to think about that with our family and friends, and not to the point that we have to constantly be around them. But if you're being isolated, if you no longer go to family functions when you normally would enjoy them, if you're no longer hanging out with your girls, and not to the point that you're going out every weekend, but that you just don't feel comfortable being with them at all, then there's a reason for concern. And I know a lot of couples, when they get married, when they want to spend more time together, but to be a whole person, you need some me time. You need some girl time. You need some time to, self-care pieces of that. So look at that as you go through there. So be constantly understanding that the isolation is a piece of it. What about mood swings? Does your partner have mood swings, aggression, intimidation? Are they constantly telling you, and they don't even have to have all three of them, but just think of those. I put them all together because they were more of mood pieces. One time you're laughing and you're joking, and then all of a sudden you say something and it just triggers something. What do you mean by that? Why are you trying to say that? Who told you to say that? All of a sudden something that you were enjoying is no longer happening. And now it's an argument. Now you're bowing down. Now you're transgressing. So understand that. And the fifth one I want you to understand is your family, friends, and coworkers, and even strangers see the danger before you admit the danger is there. They may tell you, girl, I've seen that attitude before. I see the way he treats you. I see the way he acts when other people come around. But sometimes, and more times than not, we put that off as in you just don't understand. You don't understand what goes on behind closed doors. You don't understand the type of relationships we have. And then we say, okay, and then we go off and back to the isolation. So if you see any of these signs, beware. If you're not sure if that's you, reach out to an advocate, reach out to me, reach out to your local agency and talk about those things. Now, those are the 5 things, and I'm going to go back over them in a little bit. But what I did, for those of you who are on my timeline, I asked that you do me a favor. And if you've been in a non-hitting, non-physical abusive relationship, if you would help me by sharing a story. And I had a couple of stories, but I want to share one with you so you can understand the full effect of a non-physical relationship that is still domestic violence, that is still a controlling situation. So I'm not going to share who this person is, but this person, I want to thank you if you're here. If you're not, if you catch the replay, that you, I appreciate you sharing this with me. So I'm going to read you something. And it says, I was always controlled. What time will you be home? Why were you late? Where were you at? If you don't do this for me, you don't have love. You don't love me, were things I often heard. Constant text messages. And if I didn't respond right away, he would really get mad. He always threatened to divorce me if I didn't do things his way. If I didn't do the things he wanted, he would stop talking to me or withhold things from me. If I did the things he asked, he would reward me. He would then use those things he wanted against me. He would call me a whore and how I slept around with men, and he would call me names in front of the kids. He often told me nobody would love me like he does. He promised me that if I ever left him, he would make my life a nightmare. Even after leaving him, it only became worse. Driving by my house daily, parking outside of my job, harassing my job, not stopping with no stop with porn pictures, spoof calling, hacking into my emails and Facebook, harassing my friends, and now using the kids to alienate me. Multiple CPS case calls, court cases in order to try to gain control over the children and I. And these are the things that happen. You never heard me say, he hit me. And oftentimes when we go before the judge, when our clients go before the judge, when they go before, advocates and tell them, I don't have any physical ailments. I don't have anything to show you that he hit me, but these are the things that happened to me. So what did you hear in there? You heard what I want. Number one, constantly needing to know where you are and who you're with. As this was shared to me by, someone that wrote in, you heard that. Constantly blaming me for everything that goes wrong. And if you notice, one of the other pieces, the mood swings, if I did something good, I was rewarded. Intimidation, I'm going to divorce you. And there was probably some times in there when people said, hey, I see this, maybe you should rethink those things. And so the whole piece about this is these are happening. And there's a lot of people out there listening that are going through some of this. And if it's you, okay, if you feel that some of these have hit some of the things you're dealing with and you haven't thought about it, if you haven't thought about the mood swings and putting the whole pattern of this together, putting the whole conglomerate of it together. So if you need somebody to talk to go ahead and call your local agency, call me, instant message me. There are several advocates going to be looking through this. Contact someone. If I'm not in your area or can't help you in your area, I'll find somebody who does. But sort things out or point you into a direction, or I'll point you to a direction in your area. But what I want to do tonight, hello, Chicola, thank you for watching. So what I want to do tonight, though, is I want to speak to you advocates. I want to speak to you who may have been through physical, who may have been through, something, and they're giving back, and you're that advocate. Because this is something common, or at least I know that I see it a lot. And the question is, as an advocate, what are you doing? What steps are you taking when you work with a person this kind of way that have expressed these things to you? Do you say things to them like, girl, I see you're in a mess. You need to leave while you can? Do you try to tell them horror stories of, I've had someone else that had this, and this is what happened to them, and things got worse, and he killed her friend, he killed her. Did you see in the newspaper? Do you try to scare that person into leaving? And see, we need to continue to understand, like I talked about last week, we need to not dictate, but to advocate for their safety. So how do you do that? The main piece of what we need to do is meet them where they are. So where are they that's different from someone who has a broken nose, or who has a black eye, or scrapes, or been strangulated, that the hands have been on them? Where are they in their different place that you need to meet them in? And how can you deal with that? So there's different avenues that I've seen that have been successful. One of them is to, again, have that conversation about what's going on and ask them if they are able to write out some things. So I'm going to share a screen with you, so just give me a minute. As that comes up. So if you're an advocate, I already know many a times you've seen this. This is a power and control wheel. So I'm not sure how some of you use it, probably the same way, but hey, I'm still going over it because we have a lot of new advocates that I've encountered. So this power and control wheel is one that was created by the National Center of Domestic and Sexual Violence. And, this is, everybody uses the one that is called from the Duluth method. So one of the good ways to help someone and explain to them and let them see for themselves. See, a lot of advocating is not telling, but letting them come to that decision themselves. But if you look at this, you can see, coercion and threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt you, threatening to leave her, commit suicide, or report her to welfare, making her drop charges, making her do illegal things. If you were the client, the person that I read that through, and you were thinking, well, it's not that bad, he's never hit me, we just don't get along. And then you look at this power and control wheel and explain that domestic violence is not an anger issue. It can be, accelerated with the anger, but it's not an anger issue. It's a power and control issue. And that any relationship, there's power and control. But you need to be able to decide how much power you give and how much control you relinquish instead of someone taking it from you. So you think about the story that I read to you. If she were to read that, so if you just tell her, go ahead, and we're going to take that story and say if we are going to highlight just the pieces that, let me see if I can find it on here. So we were going to highlight just the pieces that were she had experienced from the letter I gave you. And you look at that. Make and or carry out threats, something to hurt her, threatening to leave her. We didn't hear the committed suicide. We heard report her to welfare, making her drop charges, making her do illegal things. So even with just that little coercion and threats, we're like, okay, hold on. This is a big wheel, but we said that we wanted to see a pattern. Okay, so let's go over here. Making her afraid, so she was afraid that he was going to leave. Go back to the emotional abuse, putting her down, making her feel bad about herself, making her feel, calling her names, making her think she was crazy. So playing mind games with her. You heard about, isolating her with the kids, so humiliating her and making her feel guilty because she left. Okay, so now we're starting to see a pattern. We're starting to see more than one section, more than one thing. So controlling what she does, who she sees and who she talks to. Limiting her outside involvement. Would you want to go outside with that? Using jealousy to justify actions. Who are you with? Where are you going? Minimizing, denying blame, making light of the abuse. Not talking concerns about seriously, saying the abuse didn't happen. So in his mind, the things that he was doing was not abuse. Shifting the responsibility of the abusive behavior and saying that it was her fault because she wasn't following the rules. You don't get a reward unless you do what I say. We heard the part about, making her feel guilty about the children, using the children to replay messages that we didn't hear that one. Okay, using visitation to harass her, threatening to take the children away. We heard that he wants full control of the children. So you got one left out of there. Giving her allowance, she was rewarded when she did good. Threatening her, treating her like a servant. We would all agree on that one. So just think about it. If you're working with a client and they have a nonchalant kind of way, well, it's not physical, it's not really domestic violence. We just argue all the time and, it's not that bad. And you can show them something like this and you can have them highlight, explain what the power and control piece is and highlight these things, and it's in their face. And I've seen it happen more than once, that they kind of sit back and they're looking at it and they're going, oh my gosh, I may need to rethink this. This may be domestic violence. This may be something that I hear about on TV. I may need to look at this a little bit different. See, you've not told them the horror stories. You've not told them how bad their situation is. All you've done was given them the tools to make a decision for themselves. See, and when we can take that patience and walk that person through that conversation, now what do you think about that? How do you feel about those things? And then let them decide what happens next. What is the piece that needs to come after that? And I guarantee you, when someone can take this sheet and highlight this much, their thought pattern is changing about their relationship. So then they need to decide how volatile it is. And those are other things that you can do to go there. But this is just to more or less what people say, a wake-up call. Hey, is it more to it than I'm believing? You know, have I taken the time to really think this out, or have I made excuses? And if I'm making excuses, what do I need to do next? So it's not our job to tell people what to do next. It's not our job to, even persuade them to do anything. You give them the tools, you put the tools out there, and you let them go through those tools and determine what's going on in my relationship and how does this work. So tell me if this makes sense to you. Does any of this make sense? Because I know as you're looking at that, some of you are probably saying, hey, this is the way I use this. This is what's going on. And then some of you that may be out there, and this may be you. Thank you, Tony. So some of you, and thank you for joining. And some of you may be out there and saying, hey, I've used this before. This is something that I do, but I may not use it in that way. I think this is a great way to show people instead of just telling them. Because I know that oftentimes when we're just telling clients things and we're sharing those horror stories, we're traumatizing them with someone else's story, when what we need to do is let them come to the reality of what they're experiencing. Because until they come to the reality of what they're experiencing, then, they're going to stay in that situation until it does become physical. So I wanted to go over that with you. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts behind that, share it with me and let me know. Madeline says, yes, this helps. Thank you, Madeline. So if you have any questions after that, just contact me. You can pull this up. As you can see, it's from the National Council of Domestic Violence, Sexual Violence. So look at that, print that out, put that in your repertoire. When you're talking to potential victims, when you're trying to get a conversation around, I've even used it in community talks, because a lot of people come to it and they're come with one question: why doesn't she leave? And I've heard it so many times, and I would say I don't want to hear it again, blah, blah, blah. But really, people need to understand why she doesn't leave. So that question really needs to be asked. It doesn't upset me that they ask, because it's a genuine question, because when you don't understand something, you need to know. But if you can put this in front of that person and let them understand that piece of it, then I think it will help you get your point across in your communities and the aid that you need in your communities. Again, some of you, this may be where you are. Some of you, this may be where your relationship is, or you may be that advocate. And I hope some of this has helped you to understand how to advocate and not dictate. So in this piece, those are kind of the things that I wanted to go over. This is our short little piece of this. Understand that this is a smaller piece of a full piece. And if you are an advocate and you're looking for a program that you would like to present in your community, let me know. You know, we are now licensing the Jennifer Y. Merriman Health Program. It also comes with a coaching, an advocate training certification with that. So you'll be licensed to teach that program across the country. I also wanted to remind you, those that are in the area, our next Tea and Pearl Sister Gathering will be in Virginia. That will be September the 20th through the 21st. If you will go to bit.ly/capital T, small a, P, SG Virginia to 2019. I'll put that in the comment the way she has the letters, because you know the thing with excuse me, bit.ly, it is case sensitive, so you have to put it exactly how it's in there. So I will type that in there. So I'm going to be in Stafford, Virginia, with Centrell. She joined me last week. If you want to go back and look at that, this is an event for women from their youth up. She has a phenomenal piece that she's put in there for teens. So bring your teens with you. You know, bring their friends. So we're going to have like a dual gathering for both. For those of you who didn't get your copy, I launched Serving from the Kettle, and you can find it on my Amazon page at amazon.com/author/Andrea Merriman. Go ahead and get your copy. It's not an introductory price anymore, but I reminded you last week that the price would go up after a while, and it kind of did a tier, went from, you know, the introductory rate, and so now you can find it there. All of my books are there. Serving with the Kettle is definitely there. If you are interested in doing a Tea and Pearl Sister Gathering, please let me know. As you read through there, there's two types of gatherings that you can do. One's a mini, which is just small, having ladies over for tea and or gentlemen. But the cool part about it is I am putting together what I call the Alabaster Box. Next week on July 31st, I'm going to have more information for you on that, because the Alabaster Box, it has a special meaning. If you were at our event, the large gathering in March, you will understand all about the Alabaster Box. But what I have put in this is you can order the Alabaster Box after you've read Serving from the Kettle, and all you have to do is add the tea and of course the cups. But it has a guide for that. It even tells you, you know, pieces of how to put it together, you know, how to organize it. It's like a workbook that you can put together and put together a gathering. And you'll have some tools that you'll need in there. So the Tea and Pearl Sister Gathering has two components that will help you launch that. Serving from the Kettle, which is a guide that explains it to you, that gets you to understanding the full concept of what I mean by serving from the kettle. And then the Alabaster Box are the tools that you need to carry that out. I even have a set of cards in there that you can use as conversation pieces as you do the gathering. The second type gathering is the boutique gathering, and it will be if you're doing a day up to a day and a half. And then you can let me know, you know, there's certain stipulations when you do that part, but it's awesome. We had a great time. We got some things put together so that we can continue to do this. My dream is to have at least 500 Tea and Pearl gatherings by the end of 2020. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to be a part of this movement, if you understand that the things that I've gone over, the things that I'm going over each Wednesday evening about serving from the kettle and eradicating domestic violence, I think that this would be something, a way to do it and still have some fun. And so meet me next week. We're going to continue on these advocate skills that I'm giving out. If any of these are helping you, let me know. Some have let me know to the evening. If you're catching this on the replay, share this. Share this in your groups. Share that with people that you know, with boots on the ground, working with people. Some are just getting started and they need this extra push. And they need to understand this concept, because the worst thing that can happen is we have a whole lot of advocates that've been through a whole lot of drama and trauma, and they're now wanting to give back, but they're not properly trained on how to deal with the clients that they're coming encounter to, and they're sharing, or as I say, bleeding or drizzling all their pain over to that client, and what you're doing is re-traumatizing that client. So it has been given to me as a mission to help educate and to, have dialogue on advocate skills so that we're serving at our best, so that we're healing ourselves, so we're working through these pieces, and then I've given you tools and a guide to how you can do this in your communities. So I'm asking you to join with me. I'm asking you if any of the things that I'm saying on these Wednesday nights can help you, and then share them with me. Have a tea in your home. You don't have to buy the book. You don't have to have it, but I'm telling you, it's great. It will help you with that. Um, and then let me know. I can walk you through some pieces. So it is our time. Don't want to keep you too long. So yes, Tony, we need to stop hurting those who are hurting. And we are continuing to do that because of lack of training. And so as you go through this, go back through, watch the replay. Look at what I'm saying. If you have comments about that, let me know, because these pieces are needed out there, for the last 4 or 5 years as I've been on this painful trail of helping to stop the demon that is hurting our women, that's hurting our families, and this domestic violence that has become so normal. My job is to disrupt the normalcy of it, for people to understand that this is not normal. The things that are happening, scrolling on your timeline, turning on the TV every day and seeing someone being murdered or killed. And so they're only telling you the gory details, to almost where it's gotten to the point that you go, oh, there's another person. Glad it's not me. So what I want you to see is, and by doing this piece, that all of it has not escalated to the killings and the stabbings. However, the mental issues that are happening, the mental pain that people are going through, the mental push that of hurting, the PTSD and all of the schizophrenia and all these things that are out there that people may have received from the trauma. And I say that, but I'm not a therapist, so I can't tell you the reasons for, but I know that some of them are receiving, these mental breakdowns because of the trauma. And the only way to do it is for us to stand up and not just say no more, but to do something about it. What I've done is I've given you a Tea and Pearl sister gathering that I have once a year. I've given you the tools to have something like that in your own home. I've created a program with 16 modules that is the only, and I say it so proudly, the only consolidated program for women in domestic violence and or those at risk in this country. And it's been successfully running since 2015, May of 2015. And I know that results are good. I have proof positive that this is something that can help women start and get to a sustainable future. So I've put these things together, and I'm asking you, at whatever level you're ready to put this piece together, whatever level you're able to contribute, that you do something. It's no longer enough for us to be aware of domestic violence. It is time for us to stand up, be our sister's keeper, do something about it, and be that voice to the voiceless. I didn't come here for you tonight to preach to you. I came here to let you know that there is a way to make a change, and I'm offering you those things. Again, my name is Andre Merriman. I am your creative harmony coach. And until next week, I wish you hope, harmony, and happiness. And please go to my Amazon page and get your serving from the kettle. Be here with me next week so you can find out all about the alabaster box. So before I leave, I'm going to do as I said. I like to do that. And I'm going to type in, if you want to meet us in Virginia at the Centrales Boutique event, then this is the link. I think I got it right. I think I got it right. And so that should be the link that gets you to Virginia. So check it out. If you're in Virginia, anywhere around Virginia, you can travel to Virginia. This will be great. And it may be that after that you want to have your own tea and pearl event, but just let me know. You do want to read Serving from the Kettle, though. Go ahead to my Amazon page. I will also put that on there, so you can go ahead and get your copy of Serving from the Kettle. And until next week, have a good night.